at that time. So when I started establishing boundaries, I was the worst person in the world. And guess what? I
have loved you quite some time, thinking about the day that we met.
Welcome back to my channel. My name is Geton with Allthingsgeton, and today I wanted to come on and talk to you all about starting a self-care journey. This is something that's near and dear to my heart because for years I never incorporated self-care. So before I get the rambling, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to stick strictly to the tips. So tip number one for starting your self-care journey, and I have notes because my mind gets all over the place, is establishing what self-care looks like to you. So when you think of self-care, what do you typically think of? Like, I know some people think of pampering, going to get facials, doing our own facials, getting your nails done. All of those are part of self-care, and all of those are fine and dandy, but I encourage you to broaden your spectrum when you think of self-care. Also think about those doctor appointments, the preventative doctor appointments. Don't just wait until you're sick or something like that. Go to the dentist every 6 months. Go and get your eyes checked. Go and get your physicals every year at the bare minimum. Once you reach a certain age, you may have to go a little bit more, but also think about that when you think about self-care, because if you're not taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, you're not really giving yourself the love that you actually need. So that's number one. What does self-care look like to you? And also consider the other things that you don't typically think about. Don't just focus on self-care as far as pampering. Also think of self-care in the aspect of seeking professionals to make sure that everything is on the up and up with you. Create a journal. I love journals. Like, I don't even want to show y'all. I'm gonna just be honest. I probably have a budget that I started just so I can go ahead and get these journals. Not all of them are like journals to write in. Some of them are things that I love. Like, I love organizing. I love having things in place. I've even incorporated, like, my kid, try to get my kids involved. Jordan, not so much so, but I'm gonna call her no. But Kason and Taylor and I went to Five Below, and they had a mass amount of self-care, self-love, mindful books, coloring books, journals. There, I was like overwhelmed because I just couldn't believe that it was there. And when I say overwhelmed, I say that in a good way, because this is something that we need. We need to be mindful of, like, mindful and present in the fact of, like, how we're feeling, how to deal with those emotions, because this is how we project ourselves to other people. This is how we project ourselves to ourselves, essentially. You know, like, I've been in relationships and I've seen so many relationships to where other people are put before you and on a pedestal to where you literally have nothing else to give yourself. And these books have been like a saving grace to me, because I've been in situations to where I just never seen myself coming out of it. I always felt like I was a problem, and part of it was me being a problem because I allowed certain things to go on that did not sit well with me. But I'm just going to share this journal. This is one that I got for Kason, and it's called One Page at a Time. And I actually like this. Like, this is a very thick book. I don't know how many days it is or whatever, but I'll just tell you, like, some of the things that are in here. Kason is, like, very shy to herself. Like, a lot of people like, is she okay? She's not really talking. I'll give you a quick story. In kindergarten, she was like a shining star. She still is. And I just remember being notified that she was going to be honored, get like a really big award at her school. So I go there and I see her teacher coming in with her class. So I'm like, okay, like, I know I took my daughter to school. Where's she at? And I'm like mumbling to the teacher. Here comes Taylor, y'all. I'm mumbling to the teacher like, where Kason at? She was like, she's in the nurse. So I'm like, in the nurse, like, did something happen? Like, you know, the mom and me initially just panicked. Yes, you gotta be quiet though, okay? Don't mind her hair, girl. Watch Doc McStuffins.
Wait, mommy, I have to.
Okay, well, you have to be quiet because I'm telling our friends a story, okay?
Okay.
So I go into the nurse, and apparently she knew she was getting an award, and her nurse sunk in to where she threw up. Like, she threw up from just like being so nervous. And I never saw that side of her because for the most part, other than her being at school all day, she's around family and she's fine around family. But I guess it was like being put on the spotlight in front of other people that maybe took her out. But I want her to be able to express those things. Like, she knew before she left the house that she was being recognized. I don't know if she thought she was gonna have to get up like she was at the Grammys and give a speech, but yeah, she definitely was nervous about that. So this journal, like, these are like an example of the things that are in here. Draw a family portrait, just be quiet. Like, this journal was just like the bomb, and it was only $5. Like, to get like a journal like this for this value was amazing to me. And like I said, you can do things that are free. I have like a lot of notebooks from when the kids went out of school the first time. Expensive. If you have like old journals that you didn't finish out, composition books, you can start there and just write down, like, an example for me is like how I'm feeling today. Like, if I woke up in a good mood, what I need throughout the day, things that I have to do, did I get it done, how my day ended, what am I grateful for, what am I thankful for, just self-reflections. Like, these are all things that you can start off with. And when I tell you, I like to date mine. I like to be able to keep mine and go back and reflect. Like, if I woke up feeling some type of way, or, you know, with certain things on my mind, how did I overcome that? Like, these are all things that inspire me to like really keep going and, you know, get me up out of my funk. Like, oh my God, like, I really thought that I could not get out of this situation, and I did it. Like, you know, so that's why I love to journal. Create a to-do list. So I know for me, I am a very goal-driven person. I love to manifest. I love to pray. But sometimes I put too much on my plate. And sometimes the guy, he be having to sit me down and just be like, there's a time and a place for everything. Like, for instance, last year, with us being home, it's hard to see what you're actually doing when you're in the routine of doing the same things that you have been typically doing. So last year I was like, I just feel like we getting ready to go into this third quarter. I ain't doing enough. So I went back to my vision board and I'm like, hold on a minute. I manifested a new house, you know, certain things, and I'm gonna have to find it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you guys, because when I tell y'all, it's very important to like keep track of this stuff, because we don't give ourselves enough grace. We don't give ourselves the pat on the back. We're so used to recognizing and acknowledging and looking at other people's journeys and stories that we forget about our own. And stop playing with yourself. Like, stop playing with yourself for real. Like, because you are doing great things for what you need to be doing, for who you are trying to become. And it starts with being yourself. So let me just show you guys. I should have had this up, but I was talking to my good niece Jade, Shaded by Jade. I will link her information, and just talking to her about like manifesting and creating goals and stuff for yourself. And y'all already know that when I have on makeup, I get the sniffles and stuff like that, so bear with me, y'all. Okay, so I'm looking on my it is my kids. Oh, I found it. So I had did like a digital vision board. This was February 3rd. You don't have to wait until January 1st to do anything, but I wanted to focus on health, peace, getting in the car for my kids and I, getting more involved in the church, empowering other people. So when it came down to saving and budgeting and credit, like, these are all things that I started sharing on my platform. Getting more organized, delegating and, you know, working on my channel, and everything on this vision board, you guys, every single thing happened in no time. And I'm just so thankful. Like, if you follow me on Instagram, comment down below so I could, you know, acknowledge you guys and shout you out, because y'all just don't know how much like that means to me. And you know, a lot of people don't share their journey and everything, share those things with people, just because a lot of people think that it's impossible until it's done. And even when they have a record of God's grace and favor, we still tend to question, like, oh, even me sometimes, I'm just like, you know, this past year he's been so good, he's been so awesome, he's been able to provide a way for me and my kids to relocate with nothing, starting from the bottom, you know, like getting rid of everything. And sometimes when you get rid of everything, it's to make room for other blessings. So I feel so guilty sometimes, like even asking for anything else, but he is a provider, he is the father. Like, I don't know why I feel that way, but it's a lot of times to where I don't even have anything to ask him for, you know. So in times like that, I just ask for discernment and things like that. But that is something that I swear by, stand by. I create my vision board, I pray for it. If it's something that is meant to happen that year at that time, it will. If it's not, it will happen. Like, you know, certain things that I used to talk about that I can't believe that I'm experiencing now. Like, I get memories on Facebook, and shout out to Facebook, because it's like certain things you even forget about talking about. I used to always say that, you know, I wanted to just have one child and then adopt one. So now to be able to have 2 daughters that I gave birth to, and then to actually be able to be a mother to somebody that I did not give birth to, and just to love her just as much as I do my other kids. Like, God is in the blessing business. Like, I'm telling you guys. Another thing that I did on my self-care journey was be mindful and be intentional. You have to wake up every single day and know that you have these goals and dreams. They're not going to happen on their own. Even with the help of God, you still have to put in work. That's just like, you know, I used to hear all the time, like, oh, God is going to bless me with jobs. Yeah, he definitely has the power to. He'll put like the right people that maybe just started a business or that are looking for somebody. But sometimes it's also going to take the work, have to take the work of you. Did you apply for any jobs? Like, you know, everything does not always happen how we want it to in our heads. And that's where the power of being able to take your hands off of certain things and surrendering and doing your part. Whatever is supposed to happen will happen. We typically and when I say we, I mean people, we typically prolong the process because we want to do things our way and not the way that it's supposed to be done. Get the proper rest. I know for myself, being a single mom, you know, my kids living with me, when I would be tired from writing papers, working, having to get up and do hair, get them ready for bed, doing anything like that, I would be so exhausted because I'm the type of person, once I get started, I have to see it through. So normally most people will have like a week to finish an assignment. That week turned into one day for me. I will put a lot of pressure on myself to get stuff done. And I was not a very pleasant person to be around. I just had this conversation with my friend Davisha, and I was just telling her, you know, her husband, they started a business together. They have other avenues that they're experiencing. She just got a promotion as a manager, like, shout out to her. And I just had to let her know we are conditioned. And when I say we, me and her have been friends since the 5th grade. We have been conditioned to look at the role models that we had in our moms. My mom used to work 2 jobs. Her mom, I swear, this woman used to work 5 jobs. So all we seen was how hard our parents went. And, you know, they're still going to this day. That is fine and dandy, but we don't have to continue the journeys that our moms did. It's nothing wrong with asking and delegating and getting the help that you need, especially when it comes to raising your kids. If you need a tutor, get a tutor. Give yourself grace. You cannot be everything to everybody. Like, I think about those like memes or those animations with the woman where she got a book in her hand, she breastfeeding, she got shoes on, she got her work bag. You can do all of these things, but you can do it more effectively with help. This was like a prime example. I said, you know, think back to making the band. You know, like Diddy was like, oh, you shouldn't be asleep if you not here, you shouldn't be doing this. But no shade to like Diddy or whatever, but Diddy, Puff Daddy, Brother Love, whatever y'all want to call him, he understood the assignment. He understood that he can get more things done by having other people do the things that he didn't necessarily want to do. And that's a part of delegating. Leave certain things to the professionals. Y'all know I said in several, if you've been with me for a while, you know the 2 words that I stand on and I stand by, because it's still something that I'm working on, have been delegating and being intentional. And if I typically spend a whole Sunday cleaning up or doing chores around my house, I can have somebody come in here so I can give that time back to my kids, so I can give that time back to myself. You don't have to do things the same way that your mom or your caregiver or your guardian did. You don't have to do that. Like, give yourself grace. You are your person, they were their person. You know what I mean? So that's another part of like self-love that I have really allowed myself to focus and hone in on. Because like now, like my mama comes to me and we'll talk about like saving, budgeting, having faith and stuff like that, because all she knew was just to get it done by any means possible. And that was like a stressor for her. And I'm just like, I'm not choosing to live in stress. I'm at the place and the stage that I'm in. Like I said, one of the things that I have on my vision board was peace. And it was hard for me to find peace because I was too busy pleasing other people. Like, I was too busy pouring more into myself, giving more of myself to other people that I didn't even have for myself at that time. So when I started establishing boundaries, I was the worst person in the world. And guess what? I'll be that. You know what I mean? Because I know that by me establishing boundaries, me being able to put my foot down and say, hey, look, nobody else did this for me. Like, the same access to the things that I would do. Like, prime example, if somebody wanted to know what time Whole Foods open, I don't work at Whole Foods. What I would typically do was look it up for somebody. The same thing that I'm going to do, you can do. You have the internet. Like, why do you think that I'm going to know something like that? You know what I mean? So you have to establish boundaries, and it's going to be uncomfortable to people. Like I say all the time, a lot of people used to get used to contacting me because I would never say no. That's not a good thing. Like, being a go-to person is not always a good thing, because some people only go to you because they know they can go to you. You need to establish boundaries, period. And those that respect your well-being, your mental being, your peace of mind will not take offense to it. Those that do, that's not your problem. That's not your problem. Another thing that I had to get accustomed to is to being by myself. My kids are like my go-to, like it's always like us. But moving down to Georgia, a lot of times, especially in the beginning, I was by myself. A lot of the relationships that I have had in the past started off as going on a couple of dates, and then automatically they were my boyfriend or whatever. I really needed this time to be by myself. I'm not the type of person that jump in and out of relationships. I would give myself time to, before I would commit into another situation. However, I never worked on anything that may have tore me down or wasn't conducive for my health, mentally, physically, or whatever at that time. I never took accountability for what I allowed to go on or what my contributions to those situations were. And you have to do that. Like, you have to be willing to be by yourself so that you can see how you may play a part. That's just something that is kind of uncomfortable, but it's necessary in order to grow where you want to be, essentially. Oh yeah, so learn how to be by yourself. Pick up those journals, write down like what you're going through, what you may be experiencing. You just never know what is going to come out of that. Even when it came down to like me working on my goals, I grew so accustomed to letting those that were so close to me know, hey, don't take offense, like during this time I gotta work on this. Even when I was like my senior, it went back as early as I can remember, my senior year of high school, because I just didn't want anybody to feel like I was acting funny, that I was doing certain things. But you don't have to do all that. Like those that know you, those people that knew me at that time are still my friends today, and they know my process in which I get things done. So they don't take offense to it. They don't get mad at me, and I hope they don't. I don't know if they just say they don't or whatever, but I'm very goal driven, and it's certain things that I just feel like I have to have tunnel vision on in order for me to get to that goal. And I said it in several of my other videos, if it's gonna take me to take one for the team, then I appreciate that. Appreciate me being able to take a loss, or you know, to take a hit, just so that I can give you guys what you need or whatever. But I wanted to keep this conversation and this narrative going, because I know, especially like my circle, this has become so normal as far as like us giving ourselves the bare minimum, us feeling like we have to hustle, we have to work 10 times as hard to like get to where we need to be. And what if that's not like the vision that we are supposed to have? Like, definitely do the work, but by how can I say this, like I guess what I'm trying to say is do the work, but also work on yourself. Like, you'll be surprised that when you deal with what's on the inside, how you can change what's like on the outside. If you gotta remove yourself from a certain environment because you're getting the pressure of going out, and you know you're not in that space, if you're trying to give up drinking, smoking, but that's all you're centering yourself around, be okay with letting some of that stuff go in order for you to grow. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the next video. I'm gonna end this here, but I am definitely gonna have more conversations like this.